Hello again. This is Roger Kochbar for the Bioelectricity course. We're in week 7 of our course, and this is lecture segment number 10. I promised you at the start of this week that we would say a little bit about electrocardiography. Well, in truth, it's a very little bit because this is a huge subject, and I'm talking about it here for only a few minutes. But let's take those few minutes and see what points of interest relate to the work we've already done. So electrocardiography is about obtaining and interpreting written records of the electrical signals of the heart. As was mentioned early in this week's work, the original recordings of electrical signals, bioelectric signals, were by Augustus Waller, and those were cardiac signals as far as his interpretation. When Waller recorded electrical signals, it was to see if he could do it, the challenge of making the recording, not for a diagnostic or clinical purpose. There was quite a gap in time, but as records began to be accumulated, a famous investigator in Holland, Eindhoven, accumulated large numbers of records from patients with different kinds of heart disease. And he received the Nobel Prize, the first of the two given in this field, the bioelectricity field. Eindhoven received the first about 1924, I believe, for demonstrating that electrocardiograms were systematically different depending on different kinds of heart disease. That is to say, they were a measurement of the heart's performance that was fairly easy to obtain and carried significant diagnostic information. Somebody told me that at the present time there are nearly 100 million electrocardiograms that are recorded around the world every year. I don't have a way to verify that number. It could be lower, it could be higher, but I do know it is a huge number. The importance of good interpretation of electrocardiograms, first demonstrated by Eindhoven, continues unabated, and the process of interpreting electrical measurements from the body surface in terms of cardiac electrical activity continues to be a research topic even until today. Here's the very basic idea. I've made a sketch showing the heart within the body. So the heart has two chambers visible here, the left ventricle, the right ventricle. Of course, there are two other chambers that are not shown here on the sketch. Suppose we think of excitation on the left or excitation on the right. The function of electrical excitation in the heart is to transmit a signal to the heart muscle to release calcium and thereby to cause contraction. It's important for heart muscle that the electrical signal be received without too much delay in all parts of the heart muscle so that it all contracts at more or less the same time. On this sketch, I've shown two excitation waves. One excitation wave proceeding on the left part of the heart. So here's the excitation wave. It's moving outward. The excitation waves in the heart proceed generally from the inner surface to the outer surface. Here I've drawn another excitation wave over here on the right. It's proceeding outward on the right-hand side. On the body representation, which is this ellipse, I've shown two electrodes, electrode A and electrode B. The principles we have already established indicate that if you measure the voltage between A and B, let's say the voltage at A with respect to we put a meter so that it measures the voltage between A and B, that voltage is going to vary depending on which excitation wave is present. If the left side excitation wave is present, but not the right side wave, then A will be positive and B will be negative. We know that because we know that the side of the excitation wave towards which excitation is approaching is positive. It's because of all those current sources on the leading edge of the action potential. The side of the excitation wave that has already been excited is negative. It's where the current sinks are located. So as the left ventricular excitation proceeds in the direction shown, current is going to flow. We're going to have a current flow pattern from the left side. Right side is not there. We're going to have a current flow pattern from the left side that's going to go out and around like this, and out and around like this, and come back to the negative side. So this current flow path will make A relatively positive and B relatively negative. Now on the other hand, if the left ventricular activity is not there, but the right ventricular activity is, this part's positive, this part's positive, negative, negative, current flow will go like this, and like this. Current flow will go from the excitation wave on the right out to the body surface past electrode B, flow around the outside of the body surface layer towards A, and come back into the back side of the excitation wave. And as it does that, it will make body surface electrode B relatively positive and body surface electrode A relatively negative. This, of course, is the opposite polarity than what we were discussing before. If we look at this in time, and we say, let's always talk about the voltage on A with respect to B, then if the right ventricle goes first, and then the left ventricle, the waveform that we see will go down, and then it'll go up. It'll come back to the baseline. Let's go back up and look again. RV is present, and then the LV. If first the RV is present, current flow pattern will be like this. B will be positive with respect to A. So that means that if RV goes first, our trace, the first part of our trace, will be negative. On the other hand, if in the latter part of the excitation wave passage through the heart, there's RV and then LV, the first part will be down. When the LV starts, that part will be up. If instead we have a different situation in the heart, first LV and then RV, the pattern will be reversed. LV will be first, RV is second. Now what makes this confusing is that most of the time in real hearts, the pattern is overlapping. So with an overlapping pattern, then the electrodes A, B may stay relatively close to zero, and you may need a different electrode pair to detect the events that are occurring within the heart. So taken as a whole, what do we have here? We have a complicated situation. We have a complicated heart geometry, complicated excitation sequences, and a number of different places on the body surface where electrodes can be located. There is a fantastic computer simulation program which I can recommend to you for observing what's happening in the heart, observing what's happening on the body surface, and observing the relations in between. And that program is named ECG Sim, and it's available to you for free, probably, if you go to this website, www.ecgsim.org. One of the things that makes this site outstanding is that it has been put together by Adrian Van Oostrum and his colleagues, who are truly specialists in this field and who pay close attention to the quality and the accuracy of the information presented, not just making it look good. I will say, however, that it is very versatile and does really look very good. So having tooted the horn for this subject, a subject of fascination for many people for more than a century, I'll show you this statue of a musician with his horn that's attached to the Duke University Union Building. Thank you for watching.